is The Sports Life.
Ferguson Reynolds says snap it. Does. Places it. Kick is on the way up. It's long enough. It looks. Good! Atticus Sambington has given Oregon the lead. And the Ducks are 3 seconds away from escaping Iowa. Ball game's over. Woo! Oregon has defeated the Iowa Hawkeyes in one of the craziest football games we have seen in a long time.
And welcome into the Sports Life. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetler. Crazy games? Go to Iowa City. You always have a couple of those, right?
That's right.
But it was a game that really did shape, I think, the Big Ten's path into the college football playoffs. It certainly put Iowa away. Oregon looks more solid. And then it just set the stage for more meaningful games coming up.
Absolutely it did. And how about Oregon able to survive one of those? And it was interesting, Dan Lanning had said after the game, everybody said, this is what Big Ten football's about. It's these kinds of games. Well, we finally have been introduced to what Big Ten football's about. Go to Iowa City for one of those.
Well, think about this, Dalton. If Iowa can hang on, they beat Indiana.
Yeah.
If they can hang on, they beat Oregon. They're in the top 10.
They're right there.
They're right there. Well, for today's show, we have a litany of topics we're going to look at. And we've invited Bill Bender from the Sporting News to join us. We're going to talk about the college football playoffs and some other odds and ends.
That'll be really interesting. And also, we're going to be joined by Meghan McKeown because Big Ten women's basketball is better than it's ever been. Right now, ESPN has 13 teams making the NCAA tournament from the conference. We'll see if that ends up happening. But we also will be joined by Eben Novy-Williams from Sportico to go over this YouTube TV and Disney dispute where a lot of people can't watch games on ESPN at the moment and what kind of chaos that's creating. And also, UCLA leaves the Rose Bowl. It's possible. We'll talk about it with him.
I can't wait to see that one.
That's right.
That is going to be a fun chat. So what do we got?
Well, for Sounds of the Week, let's start off with Indiana's incredible win in the final moments over Penn State. And to really encapsulate what happened for the Hoosiers in that one, we're going to bring you a soundbite from Curt Cignetti from before the game kicked off. We'll bring you the game-winning touchdown called by Don Fisher, and we'll hear from Curt Cignetti afterwards as well.
Well, Coach, Indiana has never won here at Beaver Stadium. How does that change today?
This team's never played here.
Mendoza in the backfield, back to throw. Pressure comes again, throws it to the end zone. And the catch is made. Is it a touchdown? Touchdown! Unbelievable! Omar Cooper with a grab, and he put his foot down. It's a score for Indiana.
It meant a lot. And I guess what part of it, probably I was thinking back a little bit. My first time in that stadium was 1971, and every 2 years I was in that stadium for about 15, 16 years. And I can tell you there were a lot of long rides home, not many happy rides home. So that one meant a lot. And you think about my journey, right, 10, 15 years ago. Did I ever think I'd lead a team into that stadium? No. Lead a team into that stadium victorious? So I think, but it was mainly centered around how our guys responded and the challenge that they overcame to get it done.
Championship teams find a way. We see it every year, regardless of the sport. But this Indiana team, I thought they were pretty special last year, Dalton, but this one is very different. You go to the Iowa game, but this one at Penn State, unbelievable. And there's something magical about a group like this. And I don't know what he's done with this Hoosier group and what he has for breakfast. I want some. Maybe it's dinner. I don't know. But it's magical what they're doing. And I just think it's just fun to watch them in action.
Oh, I completely agree. And there is something magical. I can't wait to read the books on the Cignetti tenure, like decades from now. There's going to be such great stories from what this time period is there in Bloomington and how they've turned this into what it is now. Team that's struggling a little bit throughout this season, Wisconsin. They finally had a moment to really celebrate. As for the first time in 385 days, Wisconsin would defeat a power conference opponent. That was a losing streak of 11 straight they had against power conference teams. They finally get the win over Washington. Here's what the final moment sounded like with the voice of the Badgers, Matt LePay, and you'll hear from head coach Luke Fickell afterwards as well.
And the Wisconsin Badgers will get it done and beat a ranked team for the first time since 2021. A little field rush now at Camp Randall. Well, Barry Alvarez once said, winning is good for the soul. Today is great for the soul. It's over. The Badgers beat Washington 13-10.
What kind of exhale can you take after this win tonight?
A pretty big one for all of us, for a lot of us. So it's been a while coming, so it's great to see.
Well, I would think it would be great to see, Dalton, because they've had a very disappointing year. And what Barry Alvarez did, which Matt LePay mentioned, he turned that whole thing around. Mm-hmm. And you would expect Wisconsin to be a contending team every year. And what's happened to them lately is interesting. In the day and age when everybody's getting fired, if you have a bad day, the fact that it looks like the Badgers are hanging with Coach Fickell is also interesting.
Yeah, no, it most certainly is, and I think that's going to be a topic of conversation a little bit later on here in this show as well. Something also interesting I did want to point out from this one, Wisconsin, we talk about Big Ten football. Wisconsin wins this game over Washington with 48 passing yards. Half of those passing yards came from their punter, Sean West. That was their leading passer in the win over Washington. He threw one pass for 24 yards, had half their yards, and on Wisconsin, the Badgers get the victory.
Where's Woody Hayes when you need him? Come on, he'd be so proud of what they're doing there.
How awesome is that? That's the most Big Ten football thing. I love that.
The punter had half the passing yards?
Had half the passing yards.
Awesome.
They have all sorts of injuries and everything else in their quarterback room. That's a great stat. Real quick to cap off our sounds of the week. Look, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Heisman later on in this show, too, and there's so many big candidates from the Big Ten. Somebody whose name has not really been brought up much and probably deserves to be, Nebraska running back Emmett Johnson. And look, don't take it from us. Take it from head coach Matt Rule, who will list all of his accomplishments.
You know, I personally believe Emmett Johnson should be in New York for I think he should be a Heisman candidate. I think he should be a Doak Walker finalist, if not winner. And he leads the nation in yards from scrimmage with 1,431 yards from scrimmage in 10 games. Ranks second in the FBS in total rushing yards and fifth in yards per game. Leads the nation by accounting for 37% of his team's total yards. Among power conference players, he's number one at 37.1. Jeremiah Love, another great player at Notre Dame, is second at 29.6. Emmett is one of only three players in the FBS with at least 10 rushing touchdowns and 3 receiving touchdowns. Only running back in power conference play with 4 100-yard rushing games in conference play. 2 pages, that's how good he is. Most rushing yards for a Husker since the Doak Walker Award finalist Amir Abdullah in 2014. Most touchdowns for a Nebraska player since Amir Abdullah had 22 touchdowns in 2014. Emmett became the first player in Big Ten since at least 1995 to have more than 125 rushing yards, more than 100 receiving yards, a rushing touchdown, and 2 receiving touchdowns in the same game. Wow. First player in Nebraska history to have 100 rushing yards and 100 receiving yards in a game. He'll win a bunch of awards this week, and we haven't been able to announce them yet. But really, really proud of Emmett.
Well, I take it he's having a good year.
Well, I imagine there's a third page somewhere that he just ran out of time for.
Or breath.
Right.
Before we throw the break, Dalton, I want to go back to Kirk Cignetti just for a second, the Indiana coach. You know, that rather curt remark, this team has never played here, okay? But then think about, out of the same individual, game over, an amazing win for Indiana, the humility to talk about his journey, how many times he failed in that stadium. And there's just something so real about him. How could you not want to play for this guy?
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, something else I find interesting about it, the following question after that soundbite you got from Kurt Cignetti was, what's the areas you're concerned with? And he said, the time to be concerned is over. It's time to attack. He has a real perspective for what each moment brings. When it's game time, we're not worried about anything else. We're coming in with fire under our guts. We're coming in and playing our hearts out. We're giving it all, and we have all the confidence in the world. Then there's time for reflection and appropriate responses later on. It's really neat to see how he navigates that.
Well, when we come back with more of the Sports Life, we're going to talk some more Big Ten football with Bill Bender in just a moment.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little. But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
Every kid deserves a chance to feel safe, to have their own bed, to be loved and cared for. That's why I love my foster parents. They make me feel like part of the family.
Raise hope and foster dreams for one of 13,000 Michigan children in foster care. Visit michigan.gov/hope for a home or call 855-MICH-KIDS. That's 855-MICH-KIDS. Sponsored by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of uncertainty lurking under your hood. You know the feeling. I know I do. That sudden sinking sensation when you see a check engine light or your car unexpectedly breaks down and you're faced with sky-high repair bills. It's time to shield against unexpected repairs with CarShield. CarShield is America's most trusted auto protection company and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Don't let the fear of a breakdown keep you up at night. Trust the Shield, CarShield, and say goodbye to terrifying repair bills and hello to peace of mind. Your plan also comes with 24/7 roadside assistance, courtesy towing, rental car options, and so much more. Don't wait till it's too late. Call CarShield now before a breakdown. Protect your wallet. Protect your car with CarShield. Get our best protection ever. Call now. You'll thank me later. 800-965-1292. 800-965-1292. That's 800-965-1292.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Roxanne Watson is on a mission.
Hello, how are you doing today?
She wants more people to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors.
Are you an organ donor?
Yes, I am.
Yay. My goal is to sign up the most people in the United States.
What drives her? Roxanne's own life was saved through the gift of a heart transplant, made possible by an organ donor.
I decided that day that I was going to devote myself to the cause of organ donation and signing people up and honoring my donor by doing that.
Now she's back to health, and she's a powerful force helping to save lives every day through her work. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life.
8 people can be helped with the major organs, and up to 50 people can be helped with a little bit of everything. And when you think about it that way, that you could help that many people, it's amazing. It really is.
Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
And welcome back for more of The Sports Life. Will Teeman here along with Dalton Shetler. And don't forget, auto owners insurance, simple human sense. Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you. And we're getting down to the end of the road here on the regular season for college football. And if you look at it, Dalton, in the Big Ten perspective, when we started this thing, we started talking about Big Ten, 4 teams, college football playoffs. And the 4 were, we thought Ohio State, right? Mm-hmm. Oregon, Penn State, and maybe Illinois or Indiana.
Right.
Well, here we sit. Ohio State 1, Indiana 2. Illinois, no. Oregon 8, and Penn State has left the scene. They have left the house. And to help us join in on this conversation is Bill Bender from the Sporting News. And Bill, welcome to the show. And so my first question to you is, it looks like we're locked to get 3 teams, and is there any shot the Big Ten can get a 4th?
USC beating Oregon and winning out, and then Oregon and USC both have 2 losses, or Michigan winning out and beating Ohio State, getting to 10-2, and even then the Wolverines would be, I think, on the fringe because Oklahoma beat them head-to-head. So those are the 2 best bets for that to happen. Otherwise, we're probably going to end up with Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana. And, you know, when you were reading those teams off, I don't think any of us thought that Penn State would be at this point in the season without a Big Ten victory.
Well, Bill, let me ask you this. It's also getting time to talk Heisman. Could this be a year the Big Ten claims a Heisman Trophy?
Think so. I mean, when you're 3 of your top 4 candidates are Big Ten guys, in my opinion, right now. You know, a lot of prognosticators believe that Mendoza and Sayin are 1 and 2 right now, and that's reflected in the odds. It's reflected in their play. I mean, Julian Sayin has an 80% completion percentage, which is, I've kind of made this joke that if you play the video games and you played 9 games with Ohio State on one of those video games, I don't know if I would have an 80% completion percentage then on the easiest level. And then Mendoza's at 70%, has a couple Heisman moments. And then, to me, the best player of all of them is Jeremiah Smith. So I think there's a very good chance the Big Ten will have a Heisman Trophy winner this season. I mean, Ty Simpson, Diego Pavia, Haynes King, I suppose could all get in the mix, but it's shaping up toward Indiana, Ohio State, which in my opinion would be the best Big Ten championship game since, and I know you guys were probably there, right, when Michigan State played Iowa. That was the best one I ever covered.
Well, Bill, there's no doubt the collapse of Penn State is probably the biggest surprise in the Big Ten football season. But as you look around the rest of the conference, has there been any other surprises? Like, were you surprised Indiana really has done as well as they've done?
In some ways. I've kind of been an Indiana doubter over the last 2 years, like a lot of people. But they've impressed me with the defense, and they've impressed me with their toughness. They obviously take a cue from Kurt, who draws a lot of headlines for what he says in press conferences and those kind of things. But, you know, the way that they came back against Penn State last week, Penn State dominated that game the entire second half. Indiana couldn't stop the run, couldn't run the football. The pass rush was landing. Penn State showed that they had a lot of fight, and here Indiana is, and when it matters the most, Mendoza makes the plays. And by the way, what a catch by Omar Cooper Jr. I mean, I've seen a lot of great college football catches. That one's up there because of the body control. So they have impressed me. I mean, as far as other surprises in the league, other than Penn State, I mean, that takes the cake, obviously. I mean, Illinois we had in the top 10, and they've had a couple chances to prove it, and they just really didn't do that. That's probably a little bit surprising to me, considering how many players they had coming back.
Well, Bill, I mean, you bring up that catch. I picked up my jaw off the floor after that one. That was simply unbelievable. But talking about some of the maybe surprises, look, I don't think there were preseason expectations of this team or program being at the top or competing for a title. But Wisconsin, the way that it just has not been able to find traction under Fickell has been really surprising. They got a win, though, this past weekend, and it was a neat moment in Madison to see the players celebrate and the students come on the field and jump around with them in post-game celebration. But we're seeing Wisconsin say we're running it back with Luke Fickell again, and that seems to be the zag to the zig in college football's market with the coaching carousel, where everybody's firing their coaches with these massive buyouts. Why is Wisconsin going with Fickell again, and what's the path forward here?
I don't hate it. You know, like I'll did you say they zig, right? So I'll zig with them. I think because they're going to give him, they said they're going to, you know, more NIL money, more transfer portal money, give him the resources to succeed there, because I do think Luke Fickell's a good football coach. When we talked in the summer, I think all of us agreed that, man, look at that October schedule. How are they going to win a game? That was said out loud, and then I just think the stunning part was they really couldn't score for a month. And for them to get that win against Washington was huge. They've got a chance to make it. I don't think they'll beat Indiana, but we'll see how much more emotion they can play with in that game. Even when they played Michigan and Ohio State and Oregon, they didn't give up a ton of points if you really look at those scores. So I think giving Luke Fickell another chance makes sense. And some of that, Dalton, might be there are 9 Power 4 openings right now. So are you really going to get your guy if that guy might be looking at LSU, might be looking at Penn State, might be looking at Florida? I mean, this has been already, and it's not even Thanksgiving, it's been as crazy a coaching carousel as I can ever remember.
Any guess about Penn State?
Well, you know, the problem there is Curt Cignetti and Matt Rule kind of said no, and those were the top 2 candidates. So if I were Penn State, I would make a hard sell, a hard push for Jeff Brom. Jeff Brom did well at Purdue, took Purdue to a Big Ten championship game. He's doing well at Louisville, but at a certain point at those schools, you might top out. So why not take a swing there? He's great at quarterback development, coaches hard, no nonsense philosophy. I know they may take a run at Mike Elko too, and Mike Elko is probably in the running for Coach of the Year. But I mean, the value decision for Elko at that point would be, do I stay at Texas A&M where I've built something pretty successful here in a short amount of time, or do I go somewhere? And the problem with whoever Penn State hires is, the last guy won 70% of his games. So I would be asking, if I was interviewing, hey, what are you going to do with me if I go 8-4? No, I think that's a fair question.
Well, as always, Bill, it's good to talk with you, and it'll be fun when we revisit maybe at the end of this whole thing and see how everything stacks up.
Hey, it's always a pleasure to visit with you guys. Thanks for having me on. I'll talk to you soon.
As always, fun to talk with Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Jeff Brom to Penn State. I never thought about that.
Well, and what's interesting about it, because Bill lays out a great argument, the first thought I had was, what's been the knock on James Franklin at Penn State? He didn't win big games. You know what Jeff Brom does? He wins big games. You remember the win over Ohio State when he was at Purdue? I mean, he just knocked off Miami earlier this year while at Louisville. He wins big games, does Brom.
Just think about what he did at Purdue and what they haven't done since he left.
Hey, right. The Brom effect is real.
It's real, no doubt. Well, when we come back with more of the Sports Life, we're going to be joined by Eben Novy-Williams from Sportico. And we're going to talk about this possible UCLA football move and a dispute with YouTube. It's all coming up in just a moment.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
Here's a real-life story that affects 50% of all of us out there. It's called divorce. If you've gotten divorced and now you're struggling to pay your bills and your credit card debts are completely out of control, you need to call this special debt relief hotline right now. We help people with all kinds of money problems caused by different life challenges, a divorce, a job loss, even heavy medical bills. All these life events can sometimes financially stress you out and cause you to get out of control. We help people get their lives back by showing them ways to consolidate and reduce their debt, in some cases for a fraction of what they owe. If your credit card balances are more than $10,000, call us and learn how to reduce your credit card bills and monthly payments now. Here's our number.
Paid for by Debt.com. Call now, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584. That's 800-810-1584.
That ought to do it. Totally energy efficient.
Oh no, not again. This time, we're getting help.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the battle of energy efficiency improvements. In this corner, Mr. I can save money and do it on my own. And in this corner, Miss Let's Get It Done Right with some help. Fight! Or you could just go to avoidenergydrama.com. From sealing your home to helpful loan options, you'll find all the tips and tools you need to stop wasting energy and stay comfortable. Avoidenergydrama.com. Brought to you by Michigan Saves.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Unlike other health concerns, mental illness is not always easy to see. Depression won't show up on an eye chart, and you can't measure it on your bathroom scale. Sorting out a mental health concern is not something to attempt on your own. You won't find a bipolar disorder by looking at a thermometer. Like many other health conditions, help for mental illness takes professional diagnosis and treatment. Anxiety won't just go away under a stick-on bandage. So the sooner you seek treatment, the better. If you or a loved one has a mental health concern, don't go it alone. Find out what to do. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Learn more at samhsa.gov/support. That's samhsa.gov/support.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Team here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, the one great thing about college athletics, Dalton, there's always something to talk about. Now, we're going to have a topic here that I never thought we'd discuss. YouTube and Disney in the same conversation on a sports show about Big Ten sports. So, Eben Novy-Williams from Sportico is joining us. And Eben, thank you so much for being part of our show here today. Can we talk about this YouTube Disney thing?
We can, and it's good timing. We just hit this week. This is the longest carriage dispute in modern Disney/ESPN history. So these are the types of fights, as you guys know, that have happened for a very long time between cable providers and digital cable providers and networks in the past. But we're getting into uncharted territory here for ESPN.
Well, and Eben, how is this happening? Because it was funny, right before we actually started this conversation, Will and I were talking, and I had mentioned YouTube is holding the line. Usually everybody caves at a certain point, and you're starting to see Disney stocks and shares drop and plummet at a pretty decent, significant amount. How is YouTube TV kind of holding that line, and what is the real damage to Disney?
Yeah, so I think there's a few interesting things happening here. Typically, when we have seen these disputes, it's between networks like Disney and then large cable company operators like Charter, Comcast, or things like that. This is a bit different because YouTube is owned by Google. YouTube TV is not a critical part of YouTube or Google's balance sheet, right? So instead of ESPN negotiating with a company whose main livelihood is this cable operation, now they're sitting across the table from someone for whom this is not a critical part of the business and not a critical financial driver. So it does change the calculation a little bit. And YouTube TV, it's a relatively new service. It's popular. It's in, I don't know the exact number, 10 million households or something. But so it's not the scale that a lot of those cable providers are. And because it's not at the scale of those cable providers, they are getting worse terms with ESPN than some of those other companies. So YouTube definitely looks at that and says, we want better terms. We have 10 million subscribers. We want to be able to operate and do things like Charter and Comcast do. And again, because that the financial imperative for YouTube TV isn't the same as it's been in these fights in the past, yeah, we're looking at a kind of a different type of carriage dispute than what we've seen before.
Eben, are they close? I mean, could this drop in Disney stock get them off the dime a little bit?
I think that depending on who you talk to, they're kind of close. I know they've been talking for a lot this week. Both sides want to get a deal done, right? In the end, YouTube TV is a significantly better package when it has ESPN, and ESPN, which is trying so hard to get its network into the hands of people wherever they are, whether digitally, cable, subscription services like YouTube. ESPN is also better off when it has access to those 10 million subscribers. So they both understand the basics here is that they want to get a deal done. So I don't know exactly how long this is going to take. This has taken longer, I think, than a lot of people would have predicted. I think the last thing I'll say on the potential interesting levers here is that YouTube TV and Google seem like at some point they wanted to make an example of some network so that they could make it clear to the rest of the industry that they were willing to play hardball a bit on the pricing structure. And there's a chance that just becomes ESPN. And if that's true, if they're looking at this as kind of an existential way to signal to the market that they are not going to keep paying increasingly rising carriage fees, and there is going to be a limit to what Google, the unlimited money that Google has, there's going to be a limit to how much they're willing to spend to keep these services on YouTube TV, then there's a chance that this drags out a lot longer because, again, they're looking at this as a more existential thing and not just a singular battle between their company and Disney.
That is fascinating. And Eben, my last question on this topic, because we got a couple other things we want to jump to with you. perception. I think a lot of times whenever these disputes happen, a lot of the consumers are always upset, and they kind of kick some dirt, they get mad, and they kind of really point to the cable companies, it feels like, digital or the traditional cable providers. This time it feels like the consumers have a little bit of perception where they're blaming Disney a little bit. Do you sense that as well?
I do sense that, and it's an interesting position for ESPN to be in. And part of that, I think, is just the changes that ESPN has undergone in the past 10 and 15 years. And if you were to ask that question, I think, Dalton, to different age groups, I think you would get very different experiences and different answers. The thing that people who are, I'm 37 years old, the people who are my age and older think about ESPN, they remember a very different ESPN than younger folks do. And for younger folks, ESPN is basically like the pipeline for content, right? The IP itself doesn't have the same meaning. So I am seeing the thing that you're seeing, which is that a lot of people are blaming Disney in this and ESPN as opposed to YouTube. Part of that, I think, is that YouTube has the easier messaging here, right? YouTube's messaging is Disney's trying to make us pay more, and therefore it would cost more for our subscribers. So we're trying to keep the subscriber cost down by fighting this fight on your behalf. Right, that's the pitch, and that's compelling, I think, for a lot of people. ESPN, it's a little bit harder for ESPN to be like, oh, the cost of our cool service is getting higher and higher, so as a result, that cost needs to be borne lower down the food chain by YouTube TV and then also by consumers. It's a harder pitch, I think, to make. But yes, I think ESPN is definitely dealing with this issue, which as what it does shifts from being a cable network, which is what people knew it for such a long time, into being kind of the pipes and roadways for content to flow to other big brands, big cable, big YouTube TV subscription services. As it shifts into that model, yes, I think the reputation starts to take a hit as well.
Okay, we're going to shift gears on you, Eben. Let's talk a little bit about UCLA and leaving the Rose Bowl.
Oh, man. a lot going on there. And a big deal, obviously, for Los Angeles sports, for Big Ten sports, for LA sports. The Rose Bowl and UCLA, I think, historically have been kind of one of the, if you were to ask college football fans, the team and stadium, the most kind of iconic duo, it's definitely right up there. And there's been a lot of renovation done to the Rose Bowl. It's an old stadium, of course. A lot of renovation done to the Rose Bowl to keep it semi-current, not fully current, because I'm sure you guys have been to games there. It's a different experience than it is in some of these brand newer, fancier stadiums. But UCLA, there's economics, there's travel considerations for a number of reasons. UCLA is looking to play elsewhere, more specifically SoFi Stadium, which is basically the polar opposite of the Rose Bowl in many different ways. And yeah, these two are now at they're fighting each other. It's spilled over into the legal avenues now, and I think we're going to see. I'm curious to see, but we're going to see very quickly how serious this is from the Big Ten, from the UCLA, and where this all nets out.
Well, Evan, I think the thing that Dalton and I kept talking about was how do you get out of a contract, at least you have with Pasadena, the city of, that has a long time to go.
Yeah, and this is basically what the Rose Bowl and the city of Pasadena are arguing, right? It's a preliminary injunction that gets them to try to enforce the contract. And yeah, it's a tough one. The UCLA is essentially saying that they're committed to trying to reevaluate this, and no decisions have been made. But you can understand from a UCLA perspective the prospect of the economics of playing in SoFi Stadium, where there are significantly more suites. The pricing structure and the hospitality look very, very different than it does at the Rose Bowl. Why that might be something that does intrigue them. I think you're right. I think when it comes to when lawyers get involved and suddenly you're looking at injunctions and things of that nature, yeah, the fine points of the contract suddenly become the most important thing. Yeah, and we'll see if the school can claim irreparable harm to staying there or vice versa. It's I don't know exactly how likely that is from a legal standpoint, but definitely something that folks across the Big Ten are paying attention to. Absolutely.
Well, Eben, it's always good chatting with you, and I'm sure we'll revisit this Bruin thing later down the road.
We will, for sure. And again, I think if you're UCLA and you're looking at a stadium that's not just a little bit, but 10, 15 miles closer to campus than the one you currently play in. I definitely understand that there is an advantage to being closer to campus. It's better for your student fans. It's better for many of your actual fans. It's better for administrators and all that. It's slightly better for players as well. So yeah, there's schools that are solving this with tons and tons of money, and UCLA seems to be trying to solve it with a little bit of a different type of solution.
As always, appreciate it, Eben.
Thank you, Will.
Eben Novy-Williams from Sportico. Well, when we come back, Meghan McKeown joins us to talk about what could be a banner year for women's basketball in the Big Ten.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little? But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
So I graduated last year and got a job. Sweet! But it got boring. I didn't really have a purpose. Then I started volunteering with Community Action. It's a statewide network with 29 agencies across Michigan. Community Action helps people with food, housing, utilities, childcare, senior services, you name it. I found my purpose, helping people, changing lives. Won't you join me? Call 1-855-MI-ACTION or go to MichiganCommunityAction.org. Sponsored by Michigan Community Action and Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
This is a potter's field. When people can't pay for their funerals, they are buried here. It is a lonely, desolate place, littered with unmarked headstones. No one visits. No one leaves flowers. But it doesn't have to be that way. For as low as $1 a day, you can ensure your family will have the money to pay your funeral expenses. We offer burial insurance plans that pay up to $30,000. Considering the average funeral costs more than $10,000, that's peace of mind for your family. There are no medical exams, your rates won't increase, and your policy cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Call now to get approved in minutes and ensure your final resting place is more than just a pauper's grave in a potter's field.
800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. That's 800-562-2407. Paid for by Final Expense Direct.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just...
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. We'll team in here along with Dalton Shetler. Women's basketball, it's underway, and the women's basketball in the Big Ten, the league looks strong, especially at the top. Coaches and media both agree, even though the order is a little different, that UCLA and Maryland are at the top. Michigan, Southern Cal, and Ohio State rounded out. And it looks like somewhere in that mix could possibly be Dalton, the national champion. You never know. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, there's lots to talk about, and the league is so strong. And that's why we've asked Meghan McKeown to join us. She knows a whole lot about women's basketball and her work with BTN and as a player at Northwestern. And now she's branched out to some other upstart outfits like ESPN and NBC Peacock and something named Fox. I don't know what that is, but she's doing quite well. And Meghan, welcome back to the show. And And as you look at the growth of this league looks really good to me. What do you think?
You know what? That is an excellent observation. It's why we pay you the big bucks, and I completely agree with you. It does look absolutely excellent. So excited to be back with you two. I know that whenever I get a text from Dalton asking to come on, that we are definitely in the prime of something, and so excited that the season is officially underway this week. But yes, like to your point, it is insane to think about how good the Big Ten is. And it makes me giggle because I think back over the last, let's say, decade to when, Nebraska came into the Big Ten, and then Maryland and Rutgers came into the Big Ten, and now you add in the 4 West Coast teams. Those were all, like, at the time of them coming into the league, women's basketball powerhouses. And so it's like with each edition of schools in the Big Ten, the league just gets better and better. And so obviously you have UCLA coming in, who was in the Final Four a season ago, and they may have gotten even better, which is scary to think. But, Lauren Betts is back for them, who was the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year and the preseason Big Ten Player of the Year. Kiki Rice, they got Gianna Neepkins back from the portal from Utah, who averaged more than 19 a game, was just a huge scoring piece that you bring to the floor. So UCLA is not going anywhere from a national contending perspective. And then Brenda Freese with Maryland just somehow works magic in recruiting and in the portal once again. Getting Yarden Garzone from Indiana, who's a name that every Big Ten fan knows. And then getting Aluchi Akanawa from Duke, who was one of the best players on a team that made a deep run in the NCAA tournament last season. So they're going to be good. And you add in Kayleen Smichael, Saylor Paffenberger. It's just insane to think about the depth with those two teams. And then you have everybody else. Like, keep in mind, this is a league that got 12 teams in to the tournament last year. And you didn't necessarily have to have a winning record, I don't think, in conference play in order to get in. It just goes to show you night in and night out how tough this league continues to be.
Well, and Megan, right now, your coworker at ESPN, Charlie Cream, says 13 Big Ten teams might make it into the NCAA tournament. That's what he has at this moment. I mean, you're right. This league is just ridiculous. And it's funny, you talk about UCLA and Maryland kind of 1 and 2 at the top. I kind of feel that as well. I think you're doing a lot of hair splitting between 3 and 6, and certainly between 7 and 13 too. What do you see kind of in those two packs for the Big Ten this year?
That's a great way of putting it, hair splitting. I like that. I look at like a Michigan, right? And that was a team last year. I was like, there's no way this squad's going to be able to be competitive after losing so many people. They only returned 4 people from the roster 2 years ago. And yet, they got 2 McDonald's All-Americans in Silas Swords and Olivia Olson, and they were fantastic. And it looks like they show no signs of slowing down necessarily. So I'm excited to kind of see how they continue to grow. Ohio State's intriguing just because they're always going to be in the conversation with the style of play. It's unique for the Big Ten in terms of the full court press and how fast they play. They lose Cody McMahon, but Jelani Cambridge, one of the reigning Big Ten freshmen of the year, is back, and she's better than ever. I look at a team like USC is really interesting, and that's maybe first getting into the 6 through 13 group there. I don't know how they're going to finish. Jazzy Davidson is one of the best freshmen in the country to come in, highly rated out of high school. So, how does she kind of fit in quickly to college? We've seen a trend, as you hear my little baby in the background. We see a trend of freshmen coming into college and automatically being ready to rock. And I think it's really good for the sport that these freshmen are coming in so college ready. It's a huge benefit to coaches, especially in this era of the transfer portal. So I'm curious how USC, without Juju Watkins for the year, is able to kind of rebound when they do still have so much individual talent. London Jones transferred over to USC from UCLA. So they still have pieces that have, had impactful, really important roles on Final Four teams. And then when you look at the Iowas of the world, I'm curious. I have a lot of questions myself. It all comes down to the bottom line. Everybody is dealing with this in college basketball. Everybody is dealing with new rosters. They're dealing with the transfer portal. They're dealing with eligibility and NIL. the teams that can come together and build chemistry the fastest are the teams that are going to have success.
Well, Dalton and I talked to Megan about this before we got you on the line here, that for the first time in several years, the Big Ten will not have what we would call a generational player on the court. We had Caitlin Clark at Iowa, and you've already mentioned the Juju Watkins at Southern Cal, who also fits into that category, won't play this year because of injury. Is there any person like that out there that we should be looking at?
I do feel like Lauren Betts is in that conversation, and maybe not as like glamorous and sexy because she's a post player. And I think we like love offense and we love deep threes and we love guard play. And I think in general, guards tend to get more attention in terms of like the generational talents of the world. But Lauren Betts is 6'7", and she is an incredible scorer. Like from an X's and O's perspective, the fundamentals of her footwork are elite. Her playmaking is insane. Like her ability to pass out of doubles, her ability to get her teammates open, and her defense too. Like she does a little bit of everything. She's so difficult to scout for because you're not going to play against many people at 6'7" who do have the skill set that she brings to the table. So I do feel like she's somebody you have to consider in that conversation, perhaps not of like the same star power as like a Caitlin Clark or a Juju, but I think that's more so the position than anything.
Well, I do want to ask you as well. I mean, we talk about the superstar talent and everything with Big Ten women's basketball. One of the household names in the league is your father, Joe McKeown at Northwestern. This is his final ride as head coach there at Northwestern. He's been there for a long time, winning as coach at Northwestern, winning as coach at the stop prior to. I mean, the resume is so full. But can you explain what it's like to watch your dad go through a final experience coaching this Northwestern team?
Yeah, it's funny. I am not like an emotional, I wouldn't say emotional person, but I'm not a crier. And then all of a sudden, like I've had a baby and I like cry at everything and I get like choked up at everything. And like talking about my dad going through his last season, I was kind of like shocked at media day how much I cried about it because like it is emotional and it's all that I've known my dad to be, like from my daughter perspective here, right? Like it's all I've known. Like he's been a coach my entire life. And, the last couple of years obviously have not gone well. And like, that's not what we're used to. Cause I think people don't realize like we have won so much, like my dad has, and he's one of the all-time winningest coaches in the game. Like right now, ESPN had a graphic about it during the Tennessee NC State game. He's one of the 4 active winningest coaches right now in the game. So the impact that he's had on not just like, basketball in terms of wins and getting Northwestern its first Big Ten title in 30 years at a school where it's really difficult to compete in athletics in the same, conference as the Ohio States, the Michigan States of the world when you have the academic piece. And, to go to multiple NCAA tournaments, to have multiple WNBA draft picks, like what he's done there is incredible. I'm just more proud of like the impact he's had on the people and the person he is. He's just like, he's the best guy in the world. And, so many life lessons he's taught me through basketball, but also just simple things like he knows the name of every single janitor at the gym. And like little things like that, where he just sees people for who they are and he's a human. And that to me is what I'm more proud of than anything. But I also really need a babysitter and a nanny. So I'm hoping in retirement, him and my mom would just like move to where I am and help me, and I can see my parents more, which is just a win-win for me. So selfishly, I'm like, okay, let's have a great last season. Then like I need y'all on my payroll because we need some help over here.
Well, priorities, right? And perspective.
Right, exactly.
Well, as we wrap this up, Megan, I know this is I want you to go in your crystal ball real quick. Handicap, who do you think is going to win the regular season, and handicap the odds of the Big Ten getting a national title?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard. I do feel like UCLA is the team to beat, and they are going to win the regular season on paper right now. In terms of can they win a national championship, I look nationally, like UConn is so good this year. And you look at like South Carolina and the pieces they've added, Texas, like some of those teams in the SEC are just like so good as well. So can they win a national championship? If they can get consistent scoring guard play, I feel like they definitely have a chance. But as you all know better than anybody, when it comes to the longevity of a season, you just have to stay healthy.
Got to stay healthy. Well, Megan, good luck with the little one. I hope your dad has a great final season and can get close to you next year. And it'll be fun to check back in with you as the season gets going.
Always good to talk to you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Some of the thoughts of Meghan McKeown talking about the upcoming basketball season on the women's side in the Big Ten. Well, when we come back with more of the Sports Life, our parting shots in just a moment.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
So I graduated last year and got a job. Sweet! But it got boring. I didn't really have a purpose. Then I started volunteering with Community Action. It's a statewide network with 29 agencies across Michigan. Community Action helps people with food, housing, utilities, childcare, senior services, you name it. I found my purpose, helping people, changing lives. Won't you join me? Call 1-855-MI-ACTION or go to michigancommunityaction.org. Sponsored by Michigan Community Action and Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
If you have diabetes, listen up. If you have insurance, you can qualify for a continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends and spend more time in range, significantly lowering your A1C. More importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and if you've seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for your own CGM right now. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances will cover your CGM, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the Aptiva Medical CGM Health Hotline right now.
800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. That's 800-948-6912.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Anybody ready for a burger?
I'm State Fire Marshal Rich Miller, reminding everyone to think safety first when it comes to outdoor grilling, whether it's charcoal or gas. Never overload your grill with food. Excess fat and grease will create large flames. Grill outdoors and never inside or in a garage. Never leave a grill unattended and always keep a fire extinguisher nearby. For more tips on safe grilling, visit the Bureau of Fire Services website at michigan.gov/BFS.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Team here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, as always, the show touches a lot of topics. Women's basketball, we talked about football, we talked about YouTube. We talked about breaking at least their runs until the end of time with UCLA moving out of their current facility in Pasadena. So with that, we've now advanced to the parting shots. So Dalton, what do you have?
And by the way, if you missed any of that, make sure you give us a follow. At Sports Life Now is our name on Twitter or X. That's again at Sports Life Now. We'll have everything posted. But for my parting shot, actually, look, we're doing a lot, right? Football, basketball, a lot of different things happening in crossover season. But I'm going to take us to the pitch because Big Ten women's soccer had their tournament, and the champion ended up being the Washington Huskies, who also won the regular season.
By the way, I know what that means because I watched Ted Lasso.
There you go. That's perfect.
I know what the pitch is.
That's how inclined we are to soccer for the most part here on this show. But there's a really strong human story coming out of this one because for Washington, This went to PKs. It was 1-1. They were tied with Michigan State. They win it in penalty kicks at the end, 2-1. And just 3 days prior, they had lost their goalkeeper in a battle to cancer, Mia Hammond. And what I wanted to do is bring the moment they won, bring what head coach Nicole Van Dyke had to say afterwards, and what was just an emotional moment for the Washington Huskies.
Yulia Hush with a chance to win it for the Huskies. Hush shoots, and she scores! A storybook finish in St. Louis for the Washington Huskies. The Huskies are your Big Ten tournament champions, and they did it for Mia.
An unbelievable moment for this team. I think just obviously it's been a hard week, but just shows how much this team loves each other, how much they care about each other, and how much we love Mia.
I honestly, Dalton, can't even imagine what that was like. No. I just can't.
No. And look, isn't this one of the avenues that sport just seems to kind of exclusively have? Mm-hmm. The human power, the human spirit, the triumph, where something as terrible and tragic happens like this to a team, this group of individuals rallies and kind of answers with it and just kind of carrying on the human spirit. It really is kind of the goosebump type moment that you look for in sports.
It definitely is, Dalton. Well, as you know, I've had my fair share of shots at the NCAA, okay? Uh-huh. Well, my parting shot's kind of an interesting one because now I'm going to question them why they folded on this situation. Mm-hmm. From 1992 to 2023, the NCAA and its schools, now that's operative, the NCAA, which is the schools, by the way.
Right.
Well, they put a cap on the number of paid coaches in Division I sports, right? But you could have one volunteer coach. So we're saying we can have X number of coaches and we have one volunteer coach. Well, back in the day, if you were an aspiring young coach, you would opt to be that volunteer coach for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's a good resume thing. You could wind up putting that I was at Alabama or Michigan State or Southern Cal on your resume. And you got to work with some of the best people in the business, and you would learn. Mm-hmm. And going in, you knew you were a volunteer and you weren't going to be paid. Nobody was, there was no guy behind the curtain. That was the deal going in, and you accepted it because it could benefit you down the road. Okay. The NCAA has agreed to pay $303 million with an M, at least it's not a B,
right.
To settle a class action antitrust lawsuit representing 7,700 volunteer college coaches. Well, they're paying these guys money, and they did the math. It's about $39,000 plus per guy. The NCAA has settled on this, and what did they do wrong here? I'm going to voluntarily do this for my own selfish gains, and I'm okay with it. And now you sue, and they pay when you've already said you'll be a volunteer? I don't get it. I just wish I would have volunteered.
That's right.
I could use $39,000 to help Christmas out.
Well, I'm sure if you want, Will, there's probably some angle you can sue the NCAA. Everybody's finding one. And
I know.
If you want, now's the good time to do it.
And they're going to settle.
That's right.
It's all good. Well, with that, that's a wrap for our show this week. And as always, we appreciate everybody joining us. And we should also note that you can find us wherever you find your podcasts, like SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple. And make sure to check us out and hit subscribe. As always, thanks to the Big Ten Network. The Sports Life is produced by Dalton Shetler. And our executive producer is Wendy Hart. So on behalf of Dalton Shetler, I'm Will Tiemann, and thanks for your time.